All right, ready to get started? Okay, today we're going to talk about raising healthy families. So that's the whole point of tonight. It's not just about kids, it's about the entire family. Now, everything that we're talking about, we're going to focus a little more towards the kids we're going to talk about because that applies to everybody. Same things you're going to do for the kids, we need to be doing too because we're the example, right? So our kids are going to do what we do. And it doesn't work to don't do this. Do as I say, not as I do, right? We've all been there, get a little guilty of that. So tonight we're going to be going over how do we raise a healthy family? Because that's what it's all about. That's what we want. We just want our kids to be healthy and happy, right? That we strive for that, we work for that. That's what we want. And so we're going to go through what that looks like here as we go. What are some steps we need to do to help move closer? But first, I want to kind of go over what are things on it. First, our mission, we want to empower you to live longer, healthier lives. And through the 5 essentials, help you get to that quality life so that you can handle whatever's coming your way. So you're not living in fear, that you're able to tackle your daily life the way you want it and live to the way you want it, and not, I can't do this, or I want to do this, but I'm not sure if I can. You know you can do what you want to do and are able to have with no restrictions there. So that's what we want to encourage you. We want to help you get there. That's the whole point of what we do. Help people live the life they were meant to live. Right now we look at healthcare right now. Our healthcare system, we don't really have a healthcare system. Right now, over 45% of Americans have a chronic disease already. Now, 45%. So have been diagnosed with a chronic disease already. So almost half of Americans. So that's a huge number. So we're not talking about something acute, a new injury. This is something that's a prolonged chronic disease. Now, almost all chronic diseases are preventable too. So that's the great news as we're going to get into here a little bit later. And so as we go through this, we're going to be doing a 2-part series of this here too. So follow along. We'll have a second one here coming up here. We'll go over that before we close out tonight. But look right now. Right now, 70% of the deaths in the U.S. between heart disease, cancer, diabetes. That's 70% of the deaths in the U.S. and they're all chronic diseases. So obviously this is what we really need to be looking at and avoiding. Obesity has skyrocketed. It's doubled in adults, it's tripled in children, and it's quadrupled in adolescents over the last 30 years. So I said doubled in adults, tripled in children, but quadrupled in adolescents in the last 30 years. Think about it. We're becoming the fattest country in the world. We already are by far. No one even comes close at this rate, and it's just skyrocketing right now. And when we look at obesity is so huge. This is what leads to every other disease process out there. It's a predictor for that. Look at in anything, we know you're at a much higher risk if you're obese. And so literally over 60% of the US right now is either overweight or obese. And this is the trends that we're going here, where this wasn't the case 30 years ago, that wasn't the case 50 years ago. This has been a more recent thing. So we're going to talk about what are the things we need to do it, because right now in healthcare, healthcare is not, and we go to the doctor, we go to the hospital, it's not it's about managing your symptoms. It's about managing the problem in front of you. It's not about getting to the cause and fixing the problem. There's a big difference out there. And so that's why right now healthcare it's sick care. It's just managing where you're at. It's helping you feel a little bit better. Maybe you don't see the problem, but the problem's still there. Take this medication, do something like this, where it's covering up the symptom. It's not a lack of that medication that caused the problem. So how do we get to what's really causing it? So that's what we want to really talk about. How do we encourage you to actually get to that quality of health? And that's what it's all about. So look at, like I said, talk about our healthcare system right now. It is, if you can't see the problems with it right now, with everything that's been going on, it's insane. The numbers of what we're seeing, everything has skyrocketed, especially over the last year and a half. With people are not getting outside, they're not getting fresh air. They're eating fast food and junk food has just skyrocketed through there, which everyone knows is not healthy. People are working out less, and we're gonna get into more of the kids right now in a little bit. How much they're limiting to. They're not getting enough exercise and all that too. So as we're checking the kids right now, unfortunately, you see a picture like this. This is pretty typical right now, unfortunately. It's the kid that's eating junk food while sitting there watching TV or playing a video game. And this is not uncommon, but this is where we are right now. We look at children right now, these numbers are getting extremely out of control. We look at where they're at from now. These kids are having chronic diseases, everything from skyrocketing from autism all the way through to we had diabetes. Young kids are being diagnosed with diabetes at an early age now, instead adult onset diabetes as a kid. The things that aren't supposed to be happening, this is what we're seeing, and it just keeps going and going and going. And we need to hit the brakes. We need to throw it in reverse, because if we keep doing this out, we're going to be in even bigger trouble. Good. All right. So and so we see how the health's declining. What's going on? They're eating more fast food. They're not getting their exercise. The average kid doesn't get near enough exercise. What's recommended? The average kid is not getting only less than 45% of kids actually even eat a vegetable in a day. Only I think it's about 15%, less than 15% actually have fruit in a day. So we're talking, they're not even getting any nutrients in their diet. They're actually just eating nothing but junk food. Bunch of carbs, bunch of sugars, and there's no nutritional value in the foods that we're eating. We're going to get into that a little bit further. So obviously we need to do something about it. Well, one of the first things we're going to talk about is changing your diet. We're going to talk about exercising more. We're going to talk about all the things the boxes we need to check to help move in the right direction. And that starts with the 5 essentials. So the core chiropractic, nutrition, mindset, oxygen and exercise, and then obviously minimizing toxins. So we're going to go through all this in this 2-part series. So a big one, sugar. Sugar is huge. Sugar creates inflammation in our body. Sugar is addictive. Sugar is more addictive than cocaine. As we talk about drugs, this is the drug that we're all addicted to. Everyone loves sugar in some way, shape, or form. You may be more of a salty person, but you still love sugar. You're still addicted to sugar. And most people think of just candy and candy bars and stuff like that when you talk about sugar. No, sugar is in breads, it's in pastas, it's in grains. And so one of the first things we need to do is we need to start cutting this stuff out. And everybody knows you shouldn't have too much sugar. They know that by now, but our lifestyle right now, the average kid drinks over 30 gallons of sugary drinks in a year. 30 gallons. The average adult has over 60 or 56 pounds of sugar in a year. Now, I really limit how much sugar I take in, and I still have some sugar, but I try and limit that much. So if I'm under that, someone's doing twice that. And so you see where that falls in. Some people eat fast food every single day. 86 million Americans eat fast food every day. Okay, look at that. I mean, it sounds insane. You know, Super Size Me, the movie that came out quite a few years ago, where he ate McDonald's every day for a month, and like, what happened to him? Well, people, oh, that's not real. No one would actually eat McDonald's every day for 3 meals a day. Well, guess what? People do that. People may not eat McDonald's every meal, but they're eating a different place. They're eating out every day, and this is the stuff that gets us there. And so sugar is so bad. This is the thing that creates all this inflammation in our body. This is the thing we want to avoid as much as we possibly can. Now, you can't avoid all sugars, and your body will turn protein into sugar if you are that deficient in your body, or you have that much protein. But sugar is what we need to really work on staying away from. We put way too much sugar in our body in so many shapes, from not just pop and candy and cookies. It's in everything we have, and that's what they also put sugar. It's low fat, so what do? They put sugar in to make it taste this way and have us have that taste, that texture that we want. Thus, it adds more sugar, more sugar, more sugar. When we look at the typical childhood diet, we look at right now. We think of a teenager. What do they eat? I mean, I used to went and did a couple talks for Marion High School for their health class. First thing in the morning, it was a first period class. I'm watching kids walk in with Casey's Pizza, a Monster energy drink, and a donut. This is not what building healthy bodies is made of. That's not going to help them focus. You've seen those commercials, the Snickers commercial. Oh, you just need a Snickers. You're hangry, right? Something like that, and they're back to themselves, right? You've seen those commercials because we're so much up like this, and then there's a big crash. So then we need more sugar to bring us back up again, and then the big crash. What's this doing to our pancreas? What's this doing to our liver? What's this doing to our bodies? It's just crashing it. So we look at what's your typical teenager eat? How many people do you think eat pizza more than one time a week? And we know pizza is not good for you, right? But think how many eat pizza more than once a week. Quite a few.
My son said at school that's like an option almost every day.
Yeah.
Just get pizza.
And school lunches are farthest thing you can get from healthy food. But then now that they have Taco Bell and Pizza Hut and stuff as options at school now, which just blows my mind because that would never be the case. We had our only option besides the normal school lunch was a salad, which was just iceberg lettuce, and you dump a bunch of ranch on it or something like that. And that was your option. So we know that this is not that. And what are they drinking? They're drinking Mountain Dew and Pepsi, or they're going to Starbucks and getting the big Frappuccino that has more sugar than 3 pops combined in this thing, but they don't realize it. And yet we wonder why we have trouble with weight gain and obesity. Well, this is what we're doing. But they're getting less exercise. Most kids right now, the average kid does not even have PE in school. They're not getting it even once a week. This is not happening. So we have plus we have this kind of diet in there. They're not getting exercise. What's happening? Because we're going to talk about that in a little bit here too. But here's the other part about being a parent too, is what they want to eat versus what they should eat. We all know that there's a difference, and parents try and do the best they can a lot of times, but, I just need them to eat something. And you're only going to fight so many battles, and believe me, I understand you got to pick your battles at times. But I was doing a talk for a soccer team, and one of the moms, we were explaining what would be a healthy meal and some things that they could do to help these athletes prepare for their competitions and things like that. And she said, well, what if my kid won't eat any of that stuff? And she didn't really like my answer, but my answer was, well, who's the parent? Because it comes down to that. You're not going to win every battle, but you got to stand in line someplace and say, no, this is just what there is. Believe me, they're not going to starve to death. They will eat. I don't know about you guys, but when I was going through school, I couldn't get enough food in me. I was constantly eating all the time. Anytime I could put food away. But not that that's necessarily a good thing, but as your body's growing, they go through a lot more, especially when they're active, like I was. And so, especially if they're active, we want to do that. But we want to put the good stuff in. And we all know just the very basics. We're going to get into this a little bit, but what's good food and what's bad food. We're going to talk about that in just a minute here. But what they want to eat versus what they should eat. Well, of course, if you ask a kid, they're going to say, I want ice cream at every meal, right? I mean, can we have ice cream for breakfast? They're going to ask that if you can give them that option, right? Okay, birthday. Oh, it's your birthday day. You can have birthday cake for breakfast. Well, again, birthday cake is no better than the donut. It's essentially the same thing. So that's not what we would feed them for that. So why are we letting them have those type of things? That bowl of cereal, the nutrition in a bowl of cereal is probably not very good, especially when you're talking about what are most people having. Lucky Charms, Cocoa Puffs, whatever they may be having. Captain Crunch, obviously, we're in Cedar Rapids. So, with Crunch Berries, there's enough people at work here, they'll tell you that's not healthy for you. Even the pancakes with syrup on them are not a healthy. That's all sugar that they're putting in your body. So you're giving your body all this energy, and then you're not using it. What happens? Your body's going to store that energy, right? And that's how we get fat. So what do they want to eat versus what they should eat? That's where that battle comes into play. So what do we need to do with that? How do we help them with those? So first step, we got to remove the processed foods. So we look at processed foods. Anything that's packaged, anything, excuse me. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. But yeah, anything that's processed, packaged, and we're getting to kind of a breakdown too, whether it's made by God or made by man. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But we want to stay away from that processed foods. The more we mess with it, the more packaged, the more processed it is, the worse it is for us. The farther from its natural state it is, the worse it is for us. So we look at, you got some fries here, some fried foods. That's actually acrylamide is the chemical. It's a known carcinogen. So if we're eating French fries, things like that, we're putting cancer in our body. We look, most of the meats that we get at restaurants and things like that, they are not organic, they're not grass-fed, they're loaded with toxins, things like that. So we want to be avoiding this. If it's processed food, it's not food. It's not real food. So we want to avoid that as much as we possibly can. All right? Go to pretty much any restaurant, you can get grilled chicken breast and some steamed vegetables of some type. Pretty much almost any restaurant you sit down and go to like that. Most places have a salad you can get. And not that I'm saying it's going to be perfect, but you can find something that's a better choice. And it's always striving to make a better choice. It's not to be perfect. I'm not perfect. My family's not perfect. My kids are not perfect. Guess what? They've been to birthday parties. They've had pizza and ice cream, and they like it. And I like those things too. But if you're having those things on a regular basis, that's where the really problem comes in. So, or coffee. You're having your special coffee with all the 3 pumps of syrup in it, and that's sugar you're taking in too. And that's more of the bigger problem for the adults is that I have tons of women come in there, they're addicted to Diet Coke. Well, that's actually even worse for you because it's the artificial sweeteners, that processed food, instead of I'd even rather you have the regular versus the diet, sadly enough. Both are bad for you, but again, they're so addicted to that. Or you're so addicted to that coffee, you need the hot coffee in the morning, and then the iced coffee in the afternoon, and then you have this. You need that caffeine because you're running our body so down. This is what we need to do to help create that healthy family. Again, we're the example. When I was a kid, none of my friends, no one would ever drink coffee or even think about it. Now you have teenagers and even kids in elementary school that want to go to Starbucks to get a coffee, to get that Frappuccino, or get this, or get the pink drink, or whatever, the unicorn drink, or whatever new name they have up to make it like that, which most of it is purely sugar and it's all processed. There's nothing natural in it. And we're talking about that too, about how they say it. So food by God or food by man. So that's your real quick. If you don't know how to read a label, you don't know anything else, was it made by God? Is it something you can actually truly find out in nature on its own, or is it something that man's made in a factory and it's put in a box? The further from that natural state it is, the worse it is for us. An apple, obviously, we know that's a better choice for us. And there's a whole spectrum even on that. That organic apple versus the organic Granny Smith apple versus the highly pesticide sprayed apple over here. But it's still going to be better than the Twinkie, right? I don't even know if I'm sure they make them, but there's so many other things now. It used to be that was like the bad example. Now it's like everything. So, but if you just make that better choice, just make that apple or the donut, the better choice there. Keep making more of those good choices, the bad choices will fall away. So that's the first thing is, I don't know about you guys, but in my house, I'm not the only one, but if it's in my house, I'm going to eat it. Same thing with my kids. If they know there's bad food in the house, they are going to eat it. They have that craving for it, they want it, they need it. That's what they want to have. I'm the same way. So one of the tricks we have in our house is we just don't keep it. I don't keep ice cream in my house on purpose because I will eat it if it's in my house. We try not to have those things there. We don't have a bunch of chips. We don't have a bunch of those type things, those packaged things in our house. We try and keep more fruits. We have grapes. We'll have apples. We'll have bananas. We'll have peaches, pears, whatever we can find, and depending on the season. That's the type of stuff we'll try and have in our house for a snack. We'll have that. We have carrots. We have celery. We have all those type of things too. Those are the snacks that we want to have. Applesauce or something like that's going to be much better than having the pretzels and you name it, anything else that goes along with it, especially the candy, like things for the Swiss cake rolls or whatever. So food by God, not food by man. And so we talked about unhealthy foods. It's Nature Valley and it's 100% whole grains. Okay, great. And the filling's made with real peanut butter. Well, that sounds like a better choice, right? But again, it comes in a box. It's completely processed. Well, it says Nature Valley, but it doesn't mean it's natural. Okay. Well, it's real peanut butter. Well, okay, where's that coming from? What's added to it then too? Most peanut butter like that have a bunch of sugar added to them. Again, it's more processed. Now you can find good, healthy peanut butter that's literally just peanuts. That should be the ingredient in it, peanuts, without all the extra stuff. We like fat-free, that's a big trigger word, right? Fat-free, sugar-free, things like that. those are actually big warning signs. That's when you need to read the label, because they've replaced that fat with something else like sugar, or they're using artificial sugars, which are much worse for you than the normal sugar. So those are the type of things we want to stay away from. I know that's the thing now, like just dumping ranch on everything, right? Those people that are addicted, or ketchup, just covering it in ketchup. It's just pure sugar that they're loading up on. Again, those processed foods, you can try and do the best you can. And now it's gotten to the schools where even if you're having a birthday party or bringing a treat for school, they only let you bring in the processed foods. You can't even bring in the homemade stuff. They won't let you do that in case someone could have an allergy to something like that. This is how far off we've gotten with this, and it's just led us down this path of more and more toxic, more and more unhealthy processed foods. So what do we need to choose? We need to choose healthy fats. So some healthy fats, olive oil, coconut oil, avocado oil, fish, again, those healthy fish in there, having that grass-fed meat, free-range chicken. Those are going to be where you get some of those healthy fats. Again, we talked about meats, like grass-fed, organic beef. We would talk about free-range organic chicken. We want wild-caught salmon. We don't want farm-raised. Or fruits and vegetables, we want to make sure that they're organic. Right? And that's going to be the better choice for that always. Or we want to, if we're going to eat grains, we want to make sure they're whole grains, or the ancient grains. But we definitely do not want to have those processed grains. And if we can, we want to really minimize the grains, because grains are sugars in our body. So these are the better choices along the spectrum there. And no one's perfect. And we'll have some ways, if you can reach out to me afterwards, or just click on the link below, or wherever. Email me if you have more specific questions about some of the things, questions over what is a better choice, or if this choice is a good choice for you here too. Sedentary lifestyle, right? We look at our kids nowadays. When I grew up, we didn't have the things that they have right now. You didn't have your cell phone. We were actually just talking about this morning, how much screen time you have. Right now, the average kid has over 10 hours of screen time. The average kid has 7 hours of screen time. The average adult has over 12 hours of screen time a day. We look at how much screen time we're putting on there. If you're in screen time, you're sitting still. You're usually not doing something when you're doing that. Sitting there in a horrible position. See how this kid's laying on the couch, head pushed forward, crushed up like this, laying like this, not moving, not doing anything, not being active. Well, what's going to happen? What's happening to their neurological symptoms? What's going to happen to their neurology, their spinal cord, all that? But what's also happening with their spine degeneration? Well, what is that? How that starts affecting the organs, how they're working, all the way through. And so we look at this posture. We all have bad posture. Well, this is the position they're in all day, right? Looking down at the phone, looking at the tablet, looking at the TV. This is how they are, as you can see. She at least is kind of head back a little bit, but again, you can see, but we're not moving enough. We're sitting there. And if you have a desk job at work, you're sitting there in front of the desk most of the time. You're not getting, how often you're getting up and moving? How often are you moving as when you're the kids? When they get home from work or from school, what do? They're going to sit down in front of the TV playing a game or watching a movie. They're not going out and playing as much as they used to, things like that. So how do we need to get more of that active lifestyle? Like I said, they're not being active in school. They're not getting the gym time. They're not getting the recess time like they used to. And especially recently, we've been told stay inside all the time, don't go outside. And now, as it's starting to get into fall, it's going to start getting colder out, so we're not going to go outside as much. So we need to be active. We need to have that daily. We have a genetic requirement for movement every day. Everybody does. Doesn't matter if you're 2 or if you're 100. You still need movement. You can't be sitting in a bed or sitting in a chair all day long. You need to be moving. Your body needs that for muscles to grow, for them to be strong, to be able to support you, for your bones to be able to support you, for them not to become weak, or calcium's going to go someplace else. This is a big part of it. So we need to have movement. We have too much of a sedentary lifestyle. So like I said, less than 22% of kids in the U.S. aged 6 to 19 are getting the recommended hour. We should be getting at least 60 minutes of vigorous movement in a day. Most are not getting close to that. 5 days a week, they should be getting that. But only 27% of high schoolers are actually even getting physically active for an hour a day. 52% of high schoolers, less than 52% attend a physical education class together, even completely. in a normal week. So a lot of them, like even in my daughter's school, she's in middle school this year, and they're not even doing. It's divided up throughout quarters or trimesters or whatever, and hers isn't. It shouldn't have gym till the last quarter of the year. So she's going through majority of the year without having any reset or any gym even. So not even having a PE class, but she has a PE class, but it's every day at the end of the year. That doesn't make sense to me. I mean, we should all be getting that movement in there. What is that really teaching them? Now, luckily, my daughter does gymnastics, and she's doing that for 3 hours at a time for 4 days a week. So she's plenty active. And that's not the problem for her. But look at how many other kids are not getting that. And if they're not involved aggressively in some of the sports that are out there right now, or they're a one-sport athlete, they may not be getting that activity in there. So what happens when they don't? This is when we're seeing diabetes skyrocket. That's where we're seeing obesity skyrocket. This is where all this comes into play. And as you see, he's trying to check his blood there. And plus they start we're starting to see more of these other things like ADHD, things like that, because are so bombarded by screen time, things like that. Our body is craving this information that we can't even sit and focus on one little thing, because we're constantly looking we cannot sit still and just sit still and breathe. You can't even go on a car ride. When I was a little kid, we went to a family trip. There wasn't a phone, there wasn't any electronic devices. Like, if you had a book, maybe, if you could handle reading and writing in the car. It was play a game, seeing signs, or you kept your mouth shut, or maybe you had the radio to listen to. You didn't have your own iPod and you're looking at things, or your phones. But that's where we're so bombarded by this. This is what starts throwing this all way off. So screen time, like I said, kids should not have more than 2 hours of screen time in a day. Now, we look at school, most have a tablet or an iPad in school nowadays too. So that's part of that screen time. But then what do? They get home, they're on that, or they're on their phone and do that. We recently just got my daughter a phone, and this is something we started really looking at this weekend, and like, okay, how much time is she spending on her? Because you can look at that on your phones now, and way too much screen time. So we were like, okay, we had to put some rules in place of this. Now, again, she's active. She can't even have the phone on during school. She can't do it while she's at gymnastics for 3 hours, or at play practice, or this. But somehow she's still getting crazy amounts of it, and she doesn't have her phone at night. So weekends, other times like that, even just in the car, boom, the phone comes out. We're so addicted to it. I was talking to one of my patients who's a pastor. He said he just recently took Facebook off his phone, and he was working on something. Someone came in and interrupted him. That as soon as they left, he went and grabbed his phone to look at Facebook. And like, he didn't have the app in there. He realized, well, what am I doing here? I wasn't even doing this. Why am I trying to look at this? He said he did that 5 times in the same day. But this is our life. We're so bombarded by these screen time and social media, and we're getting into that more here as we get into day 2 as we go into this. But when we're really getting into, okay, how do we need to monitor these things? Again, also, what is the influence they're getting from the screen time? Now, actually, over 90% of infants have used an electronic device. Think about that. You're seeing kids that are in a car seat being handed, here's mom's phone. Keeps them quiet for a little bit, calms them down. They hear the music, they see the bright flashy lights. This is really starts affecting our brain development also. Plus, with this, we're all like this all the time, and it's all, even as adults, we have the social media keyboard warriors, right? Because they can't actually have a conversation with a real person. We're seeing this also in any interaction in business right now or retail, especially a younger person. They don't even know how to talk to another human being. And we're starting to see this, so it starts really warping their mind, if you will, in other ways. So we really need to limit our screen time. So we got to be aware of that. We got to set restrictions in place of that to make sure that's not going on, because that really affects their development, their brain development, but it also starts affecting their social development also, which is a huge part of our health and who we become. Especially as we're going through right now, my kids are 10 and 12. Really shaping who they're going to be down the line is really important right now. And who do you want to be? And you are the 5 people you surround yourself with. So when we look at who are you surrounding yourself with as an adult, is a big part of that. We're gonna get into this a little bit more next time too, but who are your kids being surrounded by? Who are they spending more time with? Unfortunately, they're spending more time at school or with coaches than they do with us. I don't know about you, but my kids, a lot of times, we're not getting home till 7 or 8 at night, and then they have to be in bed by 9. I only have such a small window to influence my kids. So we have to really use that time when we do have it. So really pouring into our kids, doing that. And we also want to be monitoring what they're getting put into, what's getting put into other places. School. That's a big thing coming out right now. We're seeing from everything from critical race theory to religion to sexuality. All this stuff is being bombarded. Are your kids being exposed to what you want them to be? Are you monitoring what they're being seen or what they're hearing? Because that's helping shape who they are and what they want to do. So what are your morals or family beliefs that you want to be passed on to your kids? You got to make sure we're putting that into it, because if you're not, someone else will. What does this all happen? And they're getting most of this through screen time. Games where they're constantly shooting someone or stealing cars, whatever it may be. That's a normal thing now. It's just a normal thing. Stuff that's on primetime TV time right now would have never been shown when I was a kid, not even at 10 o'clock at night, because it would be too bad. Now you had a R rating, you could never see that. They wouldn't even show that to you. Now it's middle of the day. That's in the commercial, the things that they'll show in the middle of the day. So we really got to be watching their screen time, what they're paying attention to, who they're around. Those are really important in developing that, but that's a huge part of their health, because again, as they grow up, and especially getting into teen years, by then we're talking about nutrition. They've already started these habits. It's a lot easier to start these habits when they're younger. Start them nutritionally, exercise. My kids, I work out enough in the morning right away that a lot of times the first time they see me, I'm sweaty because I haven't showered yet or something like that. So even if I haven't worked out, they think I've already worked out, or they think I'm going to go work out soon, even if I'm not, because they've seen that enough, because I've created enough of that habit, and they've seen that. They know that's a normal thing that a parent should do. Not everybody likes to work out. It doesn't matter if you like it, we still need to have movement. And I don't care what your movement is, as long as you're getting that in. So be that example for your kids. So that's what I'm going to end with that tonight. Right now, we're keeping this short so everybody can get the information they need, because sometimes it's a little bit so much being bombarded at once. Next time we're going to even get a little bit more into it. We're going to get into more into what we're seeing out in our community right now. When we're talking about health, we're talking about COVID. We're going to talk about that a little bit. We're talking about vaccines. We're going to get to a little bit more of that even next time. So make sure you tune into that. Tune in. We're going to be talking about that a lot more, and how that plays a factor with our kids, so that we can make informed decisions about what are we going to be doing, and how do these things affect our children's health, and how are we raising them. So with that, that's it for tonight. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And my biggest thing, make sure you go home and take action with everything. Now, we have a couple of events coming up. Again, our next part of this series, Raising Healthy Families, that's going to be on Wednesday night. We're going to be doing that on Wednesday night. I said the wrong time. I read wrong day the other day. So it's going to be Wednesday night. And actually, perfect timing. Here's my bringing over. We have our immunity makeover coming up here on Saturday, October 23rd. So this is talking about your immune system. Big topic. Everybody needs to hear this right now. We're going into fall, flu season. Flu is not a season. It's called fall is a season, not flu season. But we're going to be talking about how to create that titanium immune system and to put on that armor. So we're going to be going through that, how to restore your body. We're going to go through all these things. So it's 9 a.m. Saturday morning. It's going to be here in the office. So make sure, if you haven't got signed up, get signed up for it. We'll have the sign up sheet in front. You can also text us the office number, or email us, or just respond to the link here, ask a question. We'll get you signed up for that. So that's the next big event we have coming up here. After Wednesday night, we have part 2 of Raising Healthy Families. With that, have a great one, guys.